Hi, it's Colin Coward from the Colin Coward Podcast. Do you know the symptoms of moderate to severe obstructive sleep apnea, or OSA, in adults with obesity? They may be happening to you without your knowing. If anyone's ever said you snore loudly, or if you spend your days fighting off excessive tiredness, irritability, concentration issues, it may be due to OSA. OSA is a serious condition where your airway partially or completely collapses during sleep, which may cause breathing interruptions and oxygen deprivation. Learn more at don'tsleeponosa.com. This information provided by Lilly, a medicine company.
Get almost anything you need delivered with Uber Eats. What do we mean by almost? Well, you can't get a well-groomed lawn delivered, but you can get a chicken parm delivered. A little escape? No. A delicious bowl of grapes? Yes, that. An afternoon stroll? Sorry, no. A burrito bowl? Happily, yes. A day of sunshine? No. A box of fine wines? Yes. Uber Eats can definitely get you that. Get almost anything delivered with Uber Eats. Order now. Alcohol in select markets. Product availability may vary by region. See app for details. Get almost anything delivered with Uber Eats. Order now. Toyota's all in all season with another year of Toyota Game Day giveaways. The official automotive partner of the NFL is giving fans the chance to win epic prizes like Brock Purdy's favorite Toyota Sequoia, NFL shop gear, and more. Play for free by predicting which big plays will happen during the second half of every Sunday night football game. This is going to be fun. Visit toyota.com/NFL now to learn more. Toyota, let's go places. No purchase necessary. Void where prohibited. Ends on 2/8/26. Open to legal residents of the 50 United States and D.C., 18 and over. For complete details, how to enter prizes, and official rules, visit toyotasgamedaygiveaways.com.
You've seen the movie Pulp Fiction before, right?
Absolutely. And I hated
the greatest
it the first
dialogue-driven movie of all time.
The what?
The greatest dialogue-driven movie of all time.
Yes, I think that's accurate.
Right? And so you remember when Jules, right before he would go hitman on somebody, he had a little Bible verse that he would speak.
Yeah.
Ezekiel 25:17. Do you remember how that ends?
I don't. Refresh me.
You will know my name is the Lord, and I shall lay my vengeance upon thee.
Yeah.
Was that not Bryce Young on Sunday?
Oh,
I mean, you talk about
statement.
Everybody nationally, locally, killing him all week.
Killing him.
Just move on. It's over. It's done. And I mean, like, it wasn't just like he played well. I mean, 448 franchise record for passing yards. It was kind of a neat moment. I think it shows you a lot of what he's about, and he did it in a fashion which I think if his career takes off and he becomes the guy that this franchise thinks he can be, we may look back at that. The ankle game. I mean, he went down with an injury that looked bad. He's down for several moments. One point, he walks off the field in the first half. They bring the cart out.
Yeah.
And we're watching from upstairs, and he kind of waves the cart off. He's near the tunnel, so he's walking toward the tunnel. The cart's going with him. We're wondering, like, maybe he doesn't want to be seen getting on the cart. Maybe he'll get on the cart in the tunnel. And once he goes in, I mean, you know, guys going to the locker room, like, you don't expect him back at least for the rest of the half.
Yeah.
He's out for the next series. He's like bouncing around on the sideline, warming up, and all of a sudden there's like a little pop to his step. And, you know, say what you want. Atlanta was the number one pass defense in the NFL going into that game.
Were they really? I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Wow.
Number one pass defense. Now, I always say sometimes those numbers are skewed when you are a losing team because teams in the second half run the ball.
Right.
So they probably weren't the best pass defense, but statistically they were number one against the pass, and they were, you know, top 5 in the NFL going into the game in total sacks.
So getting after people too.
When you see a game like that, what does that tell you?
Well, it tells me a little bit about competitive temperament, mental toughness, to be able to have a week like you had the week before, and then it's impossible to block out all the noise. You can't possibly go anywhere. You can't walk in for a cup of coffee somewhere without somebody snickering behind your back. You can't turn on the radio. You can't look at the internet. I mean, that can consume people, right? And so I think the ability to flush that, ignore it, and literally not allow it to have any impact on your preparation, your performance, your focus. I mean, It's hard to explain. Like some guys can do that and other guys can't. And usually guys who can do that, who are less talented than more physically gifted players, are going to overcome those physically gifted players at the position.
To me, it reinforced a couple of things. One, I don't think the mental toughness of the kid is a question, nor should it be going forward, because
Right.
we saw it in his rookie season where the offensive line was essentially a sieve, and you know he had no help up front all season with injuries, and they're picking up guys, off the street, calling them up off the practice squad. All right, you're
Yeah.
starting at right guard. You just got here, and
Yeah.
he's getting killed, sacked 60 some odd times. You had the coaching changes, the play caller changes, and okay, you got through that, and then 2 weeks into your second season, you're benched, and people wrote you off again, and then you came back and you kind of authored a second act toward the end of your second season, and then you know. I always look at this from the context of what balance really is, and we can talk about that in football. But people made a big deal about his low passing yardage numbers. Nobody talked about the fact that they won a lot of those games.
Right.
And if you're running the football successfully, you're going to keep running the football. That's just football 101. But New Orleans made a schematic adjustment, load up the box. Can you beat us vertically? He couldn't do it.
Mm-hmm.
Couldn't do it. And so Atlanta said, all right, let's reuse that blueprint. Let's see if he can beat us. And he beat them. I mean,
Yeah.
this was a team that struggled to make big plays in the pass game. And Tedero McMillan had a 39-yard catch. Jalen Coker had a catch of 20-plus yards. Xavier Leggett had a 36-yard touchdown catch. Mitchell Evans had a catch of 20-plus yards. Tommy Tremble catch, run late in the game, 54 yards.
That was awesome.
Plays. Yeah, it was awesome. And Tommy's just like, he's kind of one of those heart and soul guys, like really good locker room guy. But you started to see it, and I think the way the guys played for him, I think that tells you a lot about what guys in the locker room think of him. Forget the noise on the outside. And,
Yeah.
Tom, he's 24 years old.
Yeah.
He's 24 years old, and we've said this a thousand times with all these quarterbacks. Like sometimes I understand the shows where whoever yells loudest wins. It's kind of this race to be right and first, not necessarily in that order. And so it's got to be he's a bust or he's the GOAT with a very limited sample size. And it's not great TV when you say, well, wait and see.
Yeah. Right.
But sometimes you got to wait and see.
You do. I mean, I look at what if Jordan Love didn't get to sit behind Aaron Rodgers for a couple of years? Right?
You have backup quarterback right now for somebody else.
Yeah, could very well have been. And so I think the other thing too about Bryce is you just get the sense that the team likes him. Like they like him as a guy. There's I don't know if appreciation's the right word. Maybe it is. But I think they appreciate him. I think they see the intangible traits that he brings, and they know the value of it, and they appreciate it, right? And then when things don't go well, to Bryce's credit, what he hasn't done is allow his confidence to wane. He just keeps kind of plugging forward. He just keeps kind of chopping away, and that's the first thing that'll crush a quarterback is if you start to lose your confidence, you're toast, man. And it is hard to get it back.
I think more than anything, the one thing, and you've seen him in high school and you saw him in college, the guy's a winner, and he's always been a winner. And the first time he really had to deal with losing at any scale, especially the scale that he felt in his first 2 seasons, was at this pro level. And he's bounced back from it. And I think more than anything, he wants to win. I don't think he cares whether he throws for 102 yards and wins at Green Bay or throws for 448 and wins at Atlanta.
Right.
At the end of the day, the wins count exactly the same. And in football, sometimes the people who just peruse the box scores and don't watch the game, they get a warped sense of what a balanced offense is. Well, they're running it too much. They're not throwing it enough. Well, okay, if teams are stacking their defense in a way where you have opportunities to run and they're not matching up with your 2 and 3 tight end sets and you're running it for 5-6 yards every play. Why would you stop? You're moving the ball, you're shortening the game. So just by that, you're going to have, less possessions, less time. Now, if teams are going to stack the box and say, we dare you to throw, you may have to throw it 40 times. But that is balance.
The late, great Mike Leach defined balance as doing what's working. That's balance.
Yeah.
Right? Because you don't want to tip the scales in the opposite direction for no reason.
And there's a great sidebar to that, because you look at all these Mike Leach disciples who are now in college football. What's the one fundamental change they've made to their philosophy? What are they doing more?
The run game.
Why? Because we've kind of figured out the spread in college football.
Yeah.
So, okay, we're going to thin you out. All right, well, let me go get a 220-pound back who can hammer through a light box and pick up 5, which is what I was getting off the bubble screen to begin with.
Well, in the NFL, starting to see some of that too, right? We've talked about it on this podcast. When you start getting lighter and faster on defense because you're having to adapt to the spread in the open field, then what's going to happen? It's going to come full circle. And now somebody's going to get into 12 and 13 personnel, and they're going to get a big back, and they're going to line up and put you in a phone booth.
We'll spin forward on what the next game means for Bryce Young and the Panthers.
Ladies and gentlemen, the weekend.
Throws to the end zone. McMillan, left corner, makes the catch. Touchdown.
Weekend Warriors.
So you can make the case this upcoming game for the Panthers, Monday night at San Fran. It's probably the biggest game they've had since at least 2018. You're coming off Bryce Young's best game as a pro. You're 6-5. You're a half game out of first. And food for thought, if the Rams beat the Bucs on Sunday night, the Panthers would be playing for sole possession of first place. You have the specter of Christian McCaffrey playing his old team for the first time. Obviously, it's an opportunity, but the second component, the Panthers did not have a single primetime game last year. Not a single Sunday nighter, Thursday nighter, Monday nighter. This is the first time really since early in Bryce's rookie season. They were on Monday night, week 2 of his rookie season against New Orleans. They had a Thursday night game, I believe, that year against Chicago. But, really for the first time in about a year and a half at least, the franchise is in a national spotlight, and there is something to talk about. If you're Dave Canales, if you're inside that locker room, how are you handling everything that goes into the lead up to this game?
I think you don't make it bigger than it is, because if you try to magnify the moment, I think you can get caught up in it and you're setting yourself up for a letdown. I think it has to be business as usual. It's about what we do, not what they do. That each and every time we take the field, we have an opportunity to take another step. All right. This just happens to be that next step. But I think if you fall victim to the trap of what will become like public news about the Panthers going into that game, right? And then everybody on SportsCenter's talking about it, and everybody on the NFL Network's talking about it, and all of a sudden it becomes this big over-magnified thing. I think that can be a bit dangerous. I think you got to downplay it.
I think that's going to be hard to do, because
it is going to be hard to do.
Unlike last week, this is a week where everybody's going to be singing your praises all week.
I know.
And what we've seen, the growing pains with this team this year, they're in a much better place than they were the last few years. But, they started 0-2. Everybody counts them out. You go and beat Atlanta 30-0, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, hey, the Panthers, they might be back. They showed you something. How do you handle success? Well, they went on the road and they got blitzed by New England. Now, we found out later New England's a lot better than we thought they would be.
Yeah.
Right? They got the best record in the AFC. All right, so how do you handle, adversity. Everybody's writing you off now at 1-3. Well, you go and win 3 straight. You beat Miami, beat Dallas, you beat the Jets. You're feeling pretty good coming into the Buffalo game at home. You get blitzed again. All right, maybe they're not quite ready for prime time. That's kind of the narrative that's taken hold. They're better, but they're not in the top tier. Let's get through Green Bay, and then we'll take care of New Orleans at home. And then you go and beat Green Bay on the road. And it's like, oh, hold on a second. There might be something here. Then you lose to New Orleans at home, right? Like, that's been a challenge this year, handling success. So I think coming off of this week, especially with the way the schedule sets up, it's a bear down the stretch. You got the 49ers, you got the Rams at home, and then you finish with Tampa, Seattle, Tampa.
Yeah.
So I think finding that level of consistency, especially off of the big moments, building off of those big moments, that to me represents a real growth opportunity for this team. And I'm not saying you got to win every single one of these games, but they fell flat to New England. They fell flat to Buffalo. They fell flat against the Saints. I think you're kind of looking for a measure of consistency here over the last 6.
Well, the measure of consistency, and you said it best, handling success when people are singing your praises. I think, everybody always talks about dealing with adversity. I'm not so sure it's not more difficult to deal with everybody telling you how good you are, and then you fall victim to believing it. Now all of a sudden your habits wane. You're not finishing the play. You've got that we've arrived mentality, right? I think that's the greatest challenge for coaches today and especially in college football, maybe not so much in professional football, but handling success and then carrying it over without becoming consumed by it, by thinking you've arrived.
And in the age of social media, you get the negative, as the kids say. I forget what the word they use, but like when people speak highly of you. But there's a word the kids use. I don't know. It's like 6, 7. I don't really understand.
Don't even get me started.
Yeah. I think that's jumped the shark. If you and I are talking about 6, 7, that has clearly jumped the shark. Like, they're already on to something else, which we don't know about.
Yeah. And I still have no idea about 6, 7. So
no, I have no idea what it means.
No.
But every time I say it, my daughter thinks it's hilarious.
Oh, God.
But I do think there is going to be a component here of, yes, it's a lot easier when people say, hey, your quarterback can't do this and you guys can't do this and you're not ready to win and you're, still what you were last year. It's easy to say, yeah, you know what? Like, you're thinking about that on the weight bench when you're trying to do that extra rep. You're thinking about that in practice, right? Like, it's the stuff that makes you angry. That's the stuff that fuels you. When everyone's patting you on your back like they are this week, and I saw Dan Orlovsky just put something, out there on social media. He's like, we got to start talking about the Carolina Panthers. And I'm like, okay, like, that's the national media now.
I told you.
You're going, right?
Yeah.
You're going. Everybody's going to be all in after this week. So it's going to be a challenge. And listen, San Francisco, they have one of the best offensive schemes in the NFL. McCaffrey has the highest usage rate. He's got the most touches of any player in the league coming off of an injury-plagued season. I mean, they hit him into the ground, and he is that offense. That's a significant challenge. Christian's going to be fired up for the game. And you grew up in that area. You were a 49ers fan growing up. I always kind of think back to, the Panthers' origin story when the Panthers broke into the NFL in 95. 49ers were at the time the defending Super Bowl champions.
Yep.
It was San Francisco and Dallas. Those were the 2 gold standards in the NFL.
Yep.
And the Panthers, when they started, were in the old NFC West because divisions didn't make sense.
Yeah.
The Panthers and the Saints in the West and the Cardinals were in the East. Remember that?
Oh, yeah.
Didn't make any sense. But that's and in Carolina's expansion season, they go beat San Francisco. And it was kind of like, dude, you just took down the bully on the block. And then the year after, in 96, when the Panthers ended up going to the NFC Championship, they beat San Francisco twice. And that was kind of like the first real, okay, like, this is the new kid. And, they had a team full of veterans with Sam Mills, and you kind of punched that bully in the mouth, which was San Francisco. And it was still, part of the heyday of the 49ers. So, there's a lot of history here. I remember Wesley Walls used to haunt the Niners, former Niner, when he was with the Panthers. I mean, like, that was a revenge game for Wesley Walls every time.
The fact that you're talking about Wesley Walls tells me just how invested you are in your job. Because you're not even old enough to be remembering Wesley Walls.
Oh no, dude! I was all about. So it's funny. Like I grew up a Jet fan, but my favorite player growing up was Jerry Rice.
Oh, cool. Yeah.
So loved Jerry Rice. So the 49ers, like late 80s, early 90s, mid 90s. When I was like growing up and becoming a sports fan, because they were so good, it was like the Chiefs or the Bills now.
Mm-hmm.
They're on TV all the time.
Right. Exactly. Yeah.
And
Naturally.
so, I mean, I'm watching those teams and like I could, Guy McIntyre and Jesse Sapolu and Harris Park on the offensive line, Tom Rathman, Roger.
Jesse Sapolu.
Yeah. I mean, I love those teams. Like those
Yeah.
teams were fun to watch. And, Joe Montana and John Taylor.
Roger Craig,
Ricky Waters, who came after. And so I remember like when the Panthers joined the league and as an expansion team, like, dude, you guys are punching San Fran in the mouth. That was a big deal at the time.
Yeah.
Because that team was like 12-4, 13-3 every year.
Hey, so you brought something up that just brought back a huge memory. Do you remember growing up the awesome like 3x4 or 3x5 posters that Nike used to put out with NFL players? Just big pictures of them, and they were posters. Do you remember those?
Yes. So there was one, I think I had one. It was a Sterling Sharp one.
Okay.
And it was the Like a Freight Train.
Yeah. Well, I had the Jerry Rice one. And what it was Jerry Rice in the air, and it almost looked like the Jordan logo. Okay. So he's in the air, and in the background, they have Candlestick Park at night with the lights on. And the top said, Rice be nimble, Rice be quick, Rice jump over the ... It was
great.
Awesome.
That's great.
Oh, it was so good.
That is great. I think somewhere in 8th grade or whatever it was, the year they won the Super Bowl, they debuted those new jerseys. Do you remember?
Yeah.
So I think I have like a Jerry Rice 49er jersey, that version, in a box somewhere in the attic.
Had the white number with the black shadow outline.
The black shadow outline. And it was, I know like a lot of the traditionalists didn't.
Oh, they were pissed because they had white pants.
I thought it was cool.
And even the most subtle, if you remember, the SF logo was white SF, red inside, and then the black label. And then they put a little black outline around the SF, and people lost their minds. And it kind of gave, that uniform a little bit of an edge. Yeah, a little pizzazz.
Like 49ers, Panthers, they met in the playoffs, not too long ago. What was it, 2014? So I guess it's, been 11 years now. So there's some history there, but this game represents, I think, a fast-ending opportunity. I'm excited. It's going to be Monday night. Have not been to that stadium yet in Santa Clara, so excited to go there for the first time. Let's talk a little college football to wrap up the show. New college football playoff rankings come out on Tuesday, which is today. Here's my question. Notre Dame right now is 5 spots ahead of Miami, right?
Yeah.
Notre Dame's at 9, Miami is at 14. Miami beat Notre Dame head-to-head.
Yep.
Does that come into play if both teams finish with the same identical record?
Okay, so you know how sometimes, and I get this because I believe in it, who you play, when you play, where you play. And then all of a sudden a team finds itself and they're different in week 11 than they were in week 1 or 2 or this and that. But if you remember that game, that was an exceptionally well-played game by both teams. That wasn't one team versus a team that hadn't found itself yet, right? So you're not going to be able to default to that. You're not going to be able to sit there and say, oh, well, this is a different Notre Dame team now, right? My answer to that is if both finish 10-2 and they don't acknowledge head-to-head, scheduling in college football will change forever. Because what's the incentive to do that? Just go schedule Ball State, right? Just go schedule an FCS opponent, right? Because if you're going to do that and you're essentially going to say that the matchup head-to-head doesn't matter and that it didn't matter that you played a big-time opponent, then why would you put yourself in jeopardy to ever do that again? Now, I do believe, and remember, we do this show on a Tuesday, so the rankings hadn't come out last week. And when the committee came out and put Miami at 15, knowing full well they virtually had zero chance of even playing in the ACC championship game, let alone winning it, that tells me that was an indicator that they think Notre Dame is super talented. They plan on having that, if they win, they plan on having them in the playoff along with the ACC champ. Okay? Now, here's where Notre Dame could have a problem. The Big 12. What if BYU and Texas Tech play again and BYU beats Texas Tech? And if you look at the precedent set last year in the ACC championship game, and the committee did not bump out SMU after that loss. So now,
factors.
Yeah, so there's multiple factors that could impact Notre Dame.
Still has Cincinnati, which is in the top 25.
Correct.
Just another chance for like another, carrot win, if you will, resume builder.
Yeah.
Even if they were to lose a second time to Texas Tech, are you going to punish them for playing in an extra game when it's a conference championship?
I know. And Notre Dame doesn't have to play one.
Right?
And Miami beat Notre Dame.
So you're basically saying, all right, you're going to play a top 10, maybe even a top 5 Texas Tech team at that point.
Yeah.
You got to play them again. If you lose, we're going to punish you and knock you out. But like the team that stayed home and did nothing can backdoor its way in.
With the loss to the other team that's got the same record?
Right.
I know. I think
so.
I think there's other things at play here just aside from that head-to-head was the point that I think we're both making.
Listen, I think the Big 12 champion obviously is in. If BYU wins, I think both teams are in.
Absolutely.
If Texas Tech wins, I think BYU doesn't drop. I don't think BYU drops. Now, they may not get in because if they're in that, 10 to 12 range where they can get jumped by somebody else who's lower but won a conference championship, right? Like that could potentially happen, but I don't see a scenario where if BYU is in the field wherever that cutoff is, and if they lose in the conference championship game, I don't see how you can dock them for being in a conference championship.
I'm with you, and let's maybe send a little tease for next week because obviously the group of 5 cannot have nice things. And let's dive into a discussion next week about whether or not they should get an automatic bid. Don't answer it. That's called a tease.
All right. Okay. All right. I'm going to leave you with this one because the last piece of this, which I found fascinating after watching the games last week, right? Indiana gets a scare in its previous game at Penn State. A&M, we saw what happened with A&M against South Carolina. I mean, you talk about lucky to escape. Alabama goes down to Oklahoma. Georgia seems to have some pretty good mojo right now.
Yeah, playing good ball.
Outside of Ohio State, who's looked unbelievable from start to finish. Their worst game was that opener against Texas.
Mm-hmm.
But they held them to 7 points. They've steamrolled everybody else.
Yeah.
Outside of Ohio State, I'm not sure there's another team where you're like, okay, they're going to go win a national championship or they're going to go play for a national championship.
Right.
Like Ohio State, I feel pretty comfortable saying I think they're going to be at minimum in the semifinals. Minimum.
Yeah.
Probably
Agreed.
going back to the championship. They've just been that good and they still have a lot of pieces. Everybody else, the more you watch, I mean, say what you want, the universe works in mysterious ways, the transfer portal, the chaos that has infected the sport, it's created some parity. It's
there's no question.
Consequence, and more parity than we've had in a long time.
Well, take a look at all the one-possession games that are being played in college football each and every weekend. That's why. Because the margin of error has become razor thin. I mean, you mentioned Georgia. And, Georgia wasn't that long ago where Georgia went on the field virtually against everybody they played, maybe outside of some of those Nick Saban teams. And they won the game before the ball was even kicked. And Georgia now has had to play with a blue-collar, workman-like mentality and scrap and scrape and work their way into the team that they are now. And now they're peaking at the right time, but it's not like they, that's not Georgia as we've, come to know them. But I'll say this, and I have a tremendous amount of respect for the way Ohio State is playing. They're phenomenal. I think I could make a good argument that if the University of Florida played the Ohio State schedule, Billy Napier would still be the coach at Florida.
And that's fair.
Yeah.
What was their closest game? It was to Texas, team that's kind of underachieved this year compared to expectations.
Yeah.
We'll end on this because, you mentioned Georgia can just kind of show up and steamroll people in the past. I feel bad for our friends in the university area because Charlotte plays Georgia this week. And that's just
ouch. Tim Albin's first season is not gone the way they would like it.
No. I'm not sure we have a show next week because we have the Monday night game. So
a 2-week tease.
So it'll be a 2-week tease. So we'll actually have
some answers
to talk about because I think we would know the college football bracket then, right?
I believe so.
No, well, that'll be the weekend.
1 week removed from that.
Championship week.
Yeah.
So that'll be fun. And we'll do it then. So happy Thanksgiving to you, Tom.
Get almost anything you need delivered with Uber Eats. What do we mean by almost? Well, you can't get a well-groomed lawn delivered, but you can get a chicken parm delivered. A little escape? No. A delicious bowl of grapes? Yes, that. An afternoon stroll? Sorry, no. A burrito bowl? Happily, yes. A day of sunshine? No. A box of fine wines? Yes. Uber Eats can definitely get you that. Get almost anything delivered with Uber Eats. Order now. Alcohol in select markets. Product availability may vary by region. See app for details. Get almost anything delivered with Uber Eats. Order now.
This is Julian Edelman from Games with Names. As a fellow dude, do you ever get that not so fresh feeling in your butt? That's because you're probably using the dry stuff to wipe. Wet, extra large, flushable dude wipes get what toilet paper leaves behind in your behind. You wouldn't clean the tail end of your truck with dry paper towels. So why would you wipe with dry toilet paper? Wetter just cleans better. There are no more dingleberries, no more itch and irritation, just a deep, down the seam, confident clean. So don't fumble the ball with toilet paper. Stop being an a-hole to your b-hole. Drop the toilet paper. Available on Amazon and major retailers nationwide. Dude Wipes, best clean, pants down.
Nationwide is so much more than a great insurance company. They're one of America's largest financial services companies. Like how I'm more than Saquon Barkley, the NFL's reigning leading rusher. I'm also the NFL's leading husher. Shh, hush up back there. Wow, I might have just set the hushing record. Well, almost. For your insurance and financial needs, Nationwide is on your side.
Nationwide Investment Services Corporation, member FINRA, Columbus, Ohio.